What's the word, y'all? It's RRTheGod tapping in with y'all. So listen, today is very special because it isn't going to be the Wave Podcast today. We actually changing the name from the Wave Podcast to the God Pod. So this is actually the first episode of the God Pod. Jewell Jones is here today with us on the first episode of the God Pod. So that just make it even more special. So this is the 8th episode, but this is the first episode of the God Pod. This will be the second season. And today, like I said, we got Jewell Jones, political figure, representative, councilman, spiritual Israelite, and he's going to give us some of the behind the scenes of what goes on in the politics, help us understand the nature of that realm a little bit more, as well as some of his military background and what goes on in his religion. So I really appreciate you having you here.
Indeed, King, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes,
well,
sir.
God, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, sir. So how life treating you, bro?
Life is good, man. I think we all experiencing life, at different levels and stuff like that. And I just enjoy it, every day just waking up, new challenges, new opportunities. It's just really a blessing, And then the God Pod, just realizing like who we are, like it makes it even more exciting just when the day starts.
Absolutely.
Just to keep on living.
No, facts. Yeah, bro, it's dope. It's dope having you here. So what, before you got into the political world, what were you doing before then? Like in high school, were you in sports? Did you have any crafts that you were working on?
Yeah, definitely played sports. I played a little bit of everything, but I think actual high school track was my big thing, and then football. I only played football my senior year. It was like something like I was like, let me get this out of my system. But me and my sister, we had started a company, SNJJ, and we was doing all kind of jobs, cleaning up buildings, walking dogs, babysitting. Anything you could think of, washing cars. We just, whatever could make money, we was doing it. When we was young, we had that smile. And JRTC, because I got attracted to the Army a little bit, so I did that too. But yeah, that was it. Everything I can get involved myself in, I was trying to do. Just trying to learn stuff.
So when you did the JROTC, did I say it right?
Right. Yeah.
When you did that, did you go straight into college after that? Did you go into the military?
Into college. And I actually wasn't planning. I didn't even go straight into the college version of our ROTC. My sister had kind of looped me into it, but I ended up doing that. But I was just going straight to school. I had different plans at first, but I ended up still getting back into it and, wanting to join.
What's the college version of ROTC?
It's just it's like the same thing, except it's more, you really get introduced to the military at that point, because now you like made a commitment to like actually join and serve, So it's kind of preparing you to become an officer in the Army instead of just a soldier. And you kind of start to learn whatever job or skill set that you're going to have. That's like they're just trying to prepare you for. So when you graduate, you ain't just a fresh piece of meat. It's like you like know what you're talking about. You know what to do. So
what did you end up going to college for?
I originally started off with political science and finance, but finance, when I was at the business school, accounting was kicking my butt, So I was like, maybe I can just go general business. And so I switched the degree a couple years in. So just ended up finishing with political science and general business. Still got a few courses left, though. So I'm thinking about if I want to go back or not.
What is political science consist of?
Well, real life versus, college is a little different. That's more so, it's like really just teaching you the history of like politics, comparative politics, with the U.S. and other countries, research, policy, budgeting, all these different things. Everything is politics. You feel what I'm saying? So political science really was just like a look into the world, and figuring out how do things function, how do they function in the United States, how do they function in other countries, what does it look like when you're developing, political structures, even when you're talking about democracy and dictatorships and all these other kind of different things. So you get a glimpse of that. But I think I was fortunate to hop into it when I did, because at the same time I was learning in college, I got like a real life, it's a full contact sport, And so I enjoy college. It's nice to have discussions, but it's really good to be on the ground and really be in the mix.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's very important to understand the political structure. It kind of go hand in hand with history, because you have to understand how our world is actually working and, the hierarchical system. Like just recently studying Bitcoin and learning about, different investments and things like that. looking into XRP, I never knew that other countries, their currency would fluctuate so, so greatly. Like ours will go up a couple dollars, go down, but your currency going from $5 to 15, that's something we don't even think about, on this side of the world because of, you could say how good we got it. So it's definitely important to understand the political science of the world. What would you say is the greatest takeaway from that in college?
I think just the conversations I had, with students and especially with the professors. I think probably just reflecting on some of that. I love I love this. I love conversations because it's just an exchange, and so I think that's really what stuck with me afterwards. Like I had some great professors, and then most of my courses was at U of M Dearborn, so it was smaller campus, more intimate classes. So I cultivated a lot of personal relationships with the professors as well. So I still talk to some of them to this day. So I think probably that the conversations, hearing somebody else's perspective of things, I think that was probably the most beneficial thing.
So outside of college, what was your first trigger into the political realm? Like what made you want to go into politics?
Yeah, 2014. Before that, my parents, they always dragged me all over the place, just community stuff, church stuff. I was going everywhere. But when I got older, I got a chance to go to one of our former senators, Carl Levin. He had an aide, George Fowler, because I was doing network. Back then I wanted to be like a spy. So I was just networking like crazy with all these D.C. folks. He ended up inviting me to the Congressional Black Caucus Annual Legislative Conference in D.C.
What's that?
It's like all the black and brown. I mean, everybody comes, but it's focused on black and brown folks who are legislators, activists, everybody. They just meet up in the fall in D.C., discuss a lot of policy, party, have a lot of fun, just network a lot. So these are all your people that's involved in anything. They meet up here, and I had went, and I was at like this youth workshop, and I think the Dream Defenders was an organization. They were big. They were there and a few others. They was talking about all the great things they was doing back home, and these are young people. So I'm like, damn, I want to be like that. And when I got back home, that's when the councilman, Michael Canty, passed away. He had told me like, hey, if you want to run, I move out the way. And I was still in college. I wasn't thinking about, getting in office. And that kind of is what triggered everything else, because I was like, shoot, I guess I'd try it out. Talked to my partner, Javion. We jumped right into it, and everything else after that was just a breeze, like a roller coaster ride.
So you started off getting into the council.
Mm-hmm.
So now you were councilman for Inkster, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Now, what does being part of the council consist of?
Your main priority, I guess, as a council person is really just to, I would say, it's more budgetary. Like you got like a financial responsibility to the citizens. Make sure that it's really and really it boils down to collecting property taxes. It seems like it's not a whole lot. Politics is what you make it, but as a council person, your main thing is making sure the city stays afloat.
So, like, kind of break it down for people who have no idea about politics. Like, you got most people only know about the mayor. You know what I'm saying? Where does it fall in that system? Like, break it down.
Yeah, so you got your mayor, of course. And at that time when we first got in office, the mayor was a mayor. I guess in some forms of government, you got strong mayors, you got weak mayors, and so this was like a weak mayor, situation where the mayor was kind of like part time, city council was part time, but once we got in, and we all work together, so it's one mayor, 6 city council people. We all have different districts in the city. I had District 4 at the time, so I had like a certain stretch of Inkster.
So the council is like you directly up under the mayor, and y'all are kind of regulating it, and it's sectioned off.
Correct. But when we first got in, we all kind of was on the same page. But then we ended up switching it because at that time it's like we had a city manager, somebody who's basically it's their job to run the city. We kind of wanted to give the power back to the people, so we all coordinated. We end up creating a strong mayor form of government, and it's still a mayor council because mayor and council still work together. Change the city charter. So now we have a strong mayor in Inkster. So now it is more like, I want to say the council is under the mayor still, but the mayor gets to run the day-to-day, business of the city. Whereas before it was somebody else from who knows where, comes in the city, get a job appointed by the state. They get to say this was going to happen in Inkster. But now our mayor does that, Byron Nolan, and he's got six council people under him. They all got their own districts, and they run a business in that district, and they all come together to run a business for the city.
So, like, what are some day-to-day tasks of a councilman?
Yeah, well, talking to your constituents. I mean, you can go from anything from trying to help somebody with garbage problems, if their garbage not getting picked up, to, trying to address something dealing with the police department, helping somebody out, getting them connected to resources on the state level, on the county level, on the national level. It really, as a council person or as a mayor, you're like the front line leader. Before people think about state reps or Congress people or the president, they like, I can call my council person, because you really are handling whatever. If it snows and the street's not plowed, they calling you. You know what I mean? If it's a dog on the loose or something like that, they might be calling the dog catcher or the police, but that's, it's all coming through you. So your day as a council person can look crazy because it's like whatever the people are dealing with, that's what's going to fall.
Y'all essentially are regulating the city.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And so when y'all broke it off into districts, it's like, okay, I'll take care of this area.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take care of this area. And obviously there's going to be other people that are, under you guys or that you reach out to. So what are some of those roles?
Well, I mean, the government in Inkster, it kind of stops at the council person. And then you got boards and departments. So you got, people that run different things, like the Park and Recs director. So you got people that run, they have like actual jobs in the city. But I would say probably under the council people, of course, people, when you campaign, you get volunteers or you get people that help you. You have block clubs. So you have some of those kind of roles that people feel who are just, they like the super citizens. They really want to help out. They really care about the city. That's the level where you got those people are involved at.
So as a citizen of your town or your city, it's very important to know the people on the council. Like people are so focused on just the president that they don't even look or focus on the state and realize how important that is. And that's really where you develop the sense of community. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
and that's what I see you always out in the community, making sure that you're reaching out with people and building relationships and connecting. Yeah. So that's dope.
Yeah, that's it. That's it for sure. Because I mean, even this last election that just happened, the Harris team, they were so excited about different things, but and not really just so much the Harris team, but I mean the Democrats do it all the time. They get a big race and they focus all the way at the top of the ticket. But you got so many different people that really are the foundation of politics. This big political structure. So like your city council people, your county commissioners, these people that people don't think about all the time. These are the names we got to get out there. And if you really can protect your base, then everything else can fall in place.
What is the county commissioner?
The county commissioner is a person like, so you got a council person, right? You got the mayor, and then you got a county exec that runs the whole county. Like Wayne County has a county exec, they run the whole county, but the county commissioners are like the council people for the county. So then the county commissioners oversee districts throughout Wayne County. And they get together, probably go in the office 2 or 3 times a week. Other than that, they out, because it's a part-time role. They handle the business of the county. So, you got city government, you got county government, state government, and you got national government on the federal level. It's the same, setup everywhere. You got people that have an executive role. That might be your mayor, your county exec, the governor, or the president. Then you got the legislative body. That's your council people, your county commissioners, your state representatives, your state senators, your Congress people, and your U.S. senators. So it's always the checks and balances, It's just different levels, but it looks the same on all levels. Yeah.
So go a little bit more into the representative role.
Yeah. That was back in 2016. So I was on city council for just a year before we made the transition. And on the state level, I was one of 110 representatives for the whole state. And so it's about probably roughly like 10 million people in the state. So the different districts, on average, you probably got 60 to 90,000 people in the district as a state rep. So that's the amount of people I was responsible for. And our main role there was passing the budget for the state to make sure that the numbers are right, the state is still functioning. Of course, beyond that, People want to create laws. You want to raise money for your district, advocate for different issues, show up to different things because, people want you to be there. So the role is the same way as being on city council. It just depends on what kind of footwork you want to put involved. You kind of, as a state rep, you get to create your own role, your own job.
Right,
Because
because
certain things you got to do, but other than that, you got to make it something.
right, because it's really dependent upon to what level the representative or the council wants to take it. Because
Correct.
you have a job, but the way that you go about doing it is going to be dependent on the person.
Right.
What would you say is one of the hardest challenges that you face being a councilman or representative?
Hardest challenge. I mean, for me, it was a breeze. It was cool. I remember I was young. I was the youngest one to ever do either one of those roles. So you had a few naysayers in the very beginning, saying, oh, he's too young to do this, he's too this, he's too that. But after you get the work going, you get a solid team, everything is clockwork, and it all just fall into place. And that's just using, like, again, the God pod, right? It's just using that creative genius you got inside of you and kind of just knowing that it all comes together, And so I think it was a breeze. I didn't really have no issues, for real, if I'm being honest.
Now, I know you mentioned being young. Was there any issues that you had, or do you feel like people looked at you a different way because you were younger?
I know people may have looked a different way, but I think it was cool. It was like a conversation started, and especially when I went to the state in the town, in Inkster, it's like all family. When I go to the state level, you got people from all over, the west side of the state, up north, the Upper Peninsula, all kind of stuff. So you're dealing with all kind of personalities, and I think that it was just a conversation start. People telling me about their children or about where they from, and we just vibing. So to some people, it may have seemed like it was a disadvantage being so young, but I think it was real beneficial. Yeah.
What are some lessons that you learned being councilman or representative that you still take away to this day?
Position promises more than it can deliver. People look at certain things sometimes and they like, oh, you this, you that. You should be able to just move this whole mountain, and we can, but it's a process in politics. If you want to do it the right way, the legal way, it's a process. Sometimes the process is glacial. It's not even slow. It's like super slow. Other than that, it's like everybody's a human being. You know what I mean? Like, people have all these different roles in politics. People can be real serious. I've seen people like debate, to the blood just about, and then afterwards go get some beers with each other or something like that. So it's all a show. You know what I mean? And so as long as you figure out what your role is and how to operate in the show, and you find out who's orchestrating different things and pulling different strings, you'll be all right. But if you get caught up in the entertainment, of the show, and you get pulled too much in the mix, that's when you get naive and you don't really get nothing done.
What do you feel like what are some of those discussions like when y'all are debating different things?
Yeah. I mean, it could be, I heard so much of crazy stuff. People was debating about the amount of wolves that that should be allowed, during hunting season, all the way up to, I think one of the big things was driver responsibility fees. When I was there, that we talked about, because that helped get so many people licensed back, like hundreds of thousands of people. So the conversations range from whatever. As a rep, you're able to introduce anything you want to. So you could wake up in the morning and say, you don't want to, people got colorful houses in there. You can say, I don't want no more colorful houses in the neighborhood, and try to make a bill for, people could do whatever they want to do. And that's the entertainment again. It's like, we got to be focused on what's really important, instead of just
random shit.
Just random shit, right? So the conversations could be about anything, and it gets serious depending on how passionate the person is about it. So we could be talking about something ridiculous, but it's like, this is, and so you got to treat it with respect.
And you got to get that person to understand that this isn't a priority right now.
Correct. Yeah, but you got to be respectful about it, because, everything go through the process. So,
what was one policy or initiative that you tried to implement?
One for me, I know we were looking to create some. We had a project where we were trying to build a bridge between the police and students to get some early interaction between, like, officers and younger folks. That was something I had gotten committed to. But then we had some other pressing issues come up that I kind of adjusted my attention about. But that was around the time we was having all those killings. I mean, black folk been getting killed for a long time, by police. But that was a time when, now with media and all this, social media, all this different stuff, it was so in our face, And so that was something we were looking to do because it was a couple pilot programs in some other areas where it had worked out. But it was a lot of stuff. We introduced so many different bills, stuff dealing with the police, with marijuana, the list goes on. Like we could talk about that for days.
What is some advice that you would give to young people that want to get more involved in their city politics or just politics in general?
Meet the people that run the show. Go to a council meeting if you want to. Sometimes it's dry. Sometimes it's entertaining and fun. Do some networking. Get out there and go to different events. When I was young, when I was a teenager, I was going to chamber of commerce events, like to go meet different businesses. I was going to the council meetings to know some of the politicians. I was volunteering with different community organizations. I was hanging out with people in the neighborhood. So you really just got to get out there, meet people where they at, figure out what's going on, and then figure out where you fit in at, in the equation.
Now, bring this picture up right here. What's that? What you got right there, brother?
Yeah, that was a nice little weapon system right there, with some beautiful rounds. I think I was dispensing some freedom.
Man, you
right there.
I can tell. Was that an automatic or was that like a sniper?
No, it can be automatic. At least it's a Mark 19 right here. Yeah, it's automatic for sure. It's got a butterfly trigger, so you shoot and burst for sure, but you can hold. It can be fully automatic though too if you hold down.
What age did you go into the military?
I think I had signed a contract when that was back in 2014. It's probably 18 or 19, something like that. I signed a contract saying I would go around then, but I didn't leave probably until a couple years after that for my first assignment.
Did you how was your basic training?
I never did basic training.
Oh, because you had JROTC.
Well, yeah, through the RRTC program, they kind of almost stretch it out, but you go through like a similar basic training program, like as you become an officer. But all of that, that whole route was canceled, so I didn't do any of that though. So I just had a different experience in the military than all of that.
And you said, were you active or?
For a couple years, but I had ended up switching my contract once I got in office to I did something called a guaranteed reserve forces duty scholarship, and so that meant like whenever I graduate, I want to be reserved because after I became a council member, then I was going to the state rep stuff. I didn't want to have to leave, in case something came up. So ended up joining the National Guard, and that was cool. It's a little slow, but it was cool too.
What was your MOS?
I worked a lot with Intel. Folks, we've got a call.
Man, long time.
Worked a lot with a lot of Intel folks, personnel, logistics. I mean, I kind of was a floater, so I did a little bit of everything. Whatever I wanted to learn, I just felt like I wanted to be a part of that, so I did a lot of stuff that way.
How do you feel like your military experience played a role into being state rep and council and just the political world?
I think it looked good. It looked good for sure during the campaign. Somebody see you in uniform or something like that. Or you could put some pictures on the flyer. You got to make sure you don't draw any conflicts, like being too military in politics, because you're supposed to kind of not discuss politics. Some people say like in uniform, but outside of that, if you can find the right line to be on, it looks good. Everybody likes somebody that's in service. So.
What subjects do you think shouldn't be spoken on in uniform?
I think you can talk about anything you want to at any time, but it's almost like an unwritten rule, like not to, because they don't want anyone to think that if I got a uniform on and I start talking crazy about a certain issue, a certain candidate or a certain office holder, somebody might say, "Oh, this was the way the Army thinks."
Right, it's like a subconscious thing almost.
Right, and it's like that's not what Jewell said. That's what the Army's saying.
Right, right.
So that's just like a way we want to keep the Army out of some of them conversations. But I don't limit people. Like you say what you want to say. At the end of the day.
What would you say is one of the most memorable or craziest experiences you had in the military?
Yeah. Probably my first time overseas, just hanging out. I remember we was getting so many different briefings from different people, like safety briefings and stuff about different things. But I thought it was cool. You know, I was this young guy. Um, I was in a place where not a whole lot of people look like me, and I just thought it was cool. You know, I felt like I was on top of the world, but it was kind of like unsafe where we was at. But like I was, you know, from my upbringing and different things, I felt like it was so cool. Like I was just
No
like protected,
facts.
like nothing was gonna happen, and so I had a great time. But it was the situation was interesting, but I think that was, you know, I always reflect back on that experience. It kind of helped shape a lot of different things in my life.
No facts. It definitely comes down to just your energy and the type of
Right.
person that you are wherever you at. Now, come back to these. Here's a picture of an incident that happened. This
Right.
was actually the incident where you got maced. I didn't know that this actually happened. I didn't know that you
Yeah.
went through this process. Can you walk us through the incident from like, start to beginning? Just tell us a story from your perspective.
Yeah, man. I was hanging out. I was hanging out. Just took my god sister and my. I'm gonna have to put this in the book. Like how you gonna? I just took my
Facts.
god sister and my godmom to get their nails done. We walking out. One of my friends hit me. We go down to the bar. We hanging out. Um, then afterwards, she was a little messed up. So I just had to get in the car and we just rolling around. She had to she had to use the bathroom, but we was like down 96, like just riding. And we was going through all the places like Fowlerville, you know, different stuff. So I was like, I ain't really want to stop. So I usually, if I'm on a road trip, I might get out and use the bathroom on the side of the road. You know, that's just being me. That's what guys can do. It's easier. But so I just pulled over and just a whole bunch of just stuff happened. You know, maybe people don't pull over on the road out there. And so I guess somebody had called like an ambulance truck, like just to go check on the truck, or whatever. When they got there, they was talking crazy, and so I started talking crazy, and so they called the police, and that's when everything went, you know, like haywire. Because now I'm so confused, like what
Oh,
the
so
fuck?
y'all were try to use the bathroom and somebody pulled over.
Somebody had to have called the ambulance to come and check. Probably
Type.
it's a car on the side of the road, so they probably just like, you know, it's a car on the side of the road. Go check it out. EMS people get there, but they were just talking, so like they were just doing too much for me, you know, and so they start getting loud. I just got a little bit loud. I was a little bigger than too. I done slimmed down, you know. They made it seem like I was just this humongous guy. I was on like 225, and I guess I probably just like maybe like a little. I might have like scared the guys a little bit or something like that. So they called the police, but that's when everything just went crazy, and I just had always had this like I love the police. I grew up with the police, but I just don't. You know, when you get it, when you have an interaction, you get different feelings. Like it just be you have like this emotional roller coaster. You on like what are you supposed to do? How serious is the whole situation? You really just scoping out a lot of stuff. And it wasn't even the Caucasian officer. It was the brother. You know, it was a young brother pulled up, and I just like wasn't feeling him. Like, oh, this guy's about to do something extra. You feel me? And so I kind of resisted a little bit, you know. And they had started like tasing me and macing me, and I guess the reaction was so bad. He must have had like some backyard boogie stuff, like something he whipped up himself. Cause I had been maced before and it ain't never been like that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And my whole face was just tore up for like a while. But my doctor, Dr. Mike over at Life Medical Center, he hooked me up. He put me on this regimen.
Shout out
I
Dr.
think
Mike.
like, yeah, shout out to Dr. Mike for sure. Cause my face was, man, when I tell you like every day, like it was leaking, it was peeling. I felt like the Rock Man off of Fantastic
Man, I
Four.
know. It progressively got worse, huh?
Yeah,
So
and
I
then
know you
sun
was
out.
just freaking out. You like, bro,
Man,
what the
sun
fuck is
out.
going
I'm
on?
like, my face is burning. I'm like, Doc, I
Not
need
the
you.
sun.
Being like this supposed to be helping me. I
Right.
was, you know, uh, and I mean, I had like people trying to help me out too. I remember like even my girl at the time and some other people, they rubbing aloe vera on my face and all kind of other stuff. And, you know,
Get off
everybody
me.
just trying to help, you know, just trying to help out. But um, he had got me together. My face ended up clearing up. And then we had started the case like way later. So the whole situation just, it was like a movie to me. You know, I felt like I was in a movie, like literally, and it was just so much going on at once. And even the process now, when I reflect back on it, it's just like it was so interesting. But all I remember is really like I had a great day. I had a great day that day. Every time some kind of trouble happened in my life, I'm always having a good time. So I kind of just stick to the to the good time that I had, take whatever lessons I can get out of it, and I keep it moving.
No facts.
Yeah.
So what did Doc end up doing to like help bring it down?
He had, I forget the medicine he put me on, but he had some cream and he had some pills for me. And I had to crush the pills up because I can't even take pills. So he had found something that I could go ahead and crush up, and this ointment I had to put on my face. I think probably about 2 weeks or a week, maybe even a week and a half, my face started clearing up, and I was so happy because, like, when I tell you, man, it was just every day was something, and I was going to work and had to go do all kind of other stuff, and I'm constantly running back and forth in the bathroom. Yeah, from
Came
that
back.
to this, woo!
Came back. No,
Yeah,
that's what's up.
yeah, Dr. Mike, that's my guy for sure.
I seen you in the suit too. Like you
Yeah.
had posted something. You said your personality isn't the first thing that they see. You know what I'm saying? And it was you dressed up in the suit, and your face was a little messed up or whatever. But it's like
messed up.
I'm still you're like I'm still here though. You know.
Right.
So it was like I just thought about like, damn, you had to still go out here taking on this. So I know that was probably tough. What would you say was the toughest part about that whole experience? Do you think it was more so dealing with the police officers and the situation, like, or the damage that was done?
Just the way the situation, really just realizing like sometimes I'm one to say like you really can't control all the factors in your environment, but sometimes just like you got to just like be like formless and just like kind of just flow through the process. I think that was the tricky part. Like for me, like I just had to take a step back. Like usually like if I ever run into like an issue with the police, I'm like I'm at the court. I'm about to go heads up against the officer in front of the judge. Do X, Y, and Z. This one I kind of had to peel back a little bit, and kind of just let other people help out and kind of just follow that lead. And so whenever you fight in like time, when you looking like at like a sentence for real, like you be wanting to be so involved because like your life is in somebody else's hands.
Absolutely.
So that was like the interesting part for me, like just like sitting back and just kind of like letting people do their thing. And, you trying to feed them different stuff, but you like at the end of the day, like shoot, they just let them do their job. So I think that was tricky. Not so much the officers and all that good stuff. Because once that situation over, it was cool. I just think I probably seen them one time after that, and then I think the judge made me write them some apology letters. But I think it was just more so just yielding control to like other people to let them do their thing to make sure stuff turned out all right.
You would think that with your military experience, auxiliary experience, just your political position, period, would have at least changed how they treated you or handled the situation.
Yeah.
How did that change your perspective on like the justice system and the?
Well, I kind of already knew about some of that stuff. So like, that was to be expected. I used to get put over by the state police all the time. I used to drive this Tahoe. I got a brand new Tahoe, tinted out windows, all kind of stuff. I used to go to the Capitol in like sweats. So I used to get put over. I used to carry around this little black leather duffel bag. He used to pull me over and want to search the car. Like I used to get harassed by the police. So I was already kind of familiar with like a lot of that stuff. So it's not, you can get as much credentials as you want to, but at the end of the day, you really dealing with somebody heads up. Like they really just looking at you. They already got agendas and stuff out here, people do. So as much as you want to look the right part, be the right part, sound right, it's always up to this other person. What are they gonna do? Because sometimes you just gotta respect people's positions, let them do what they want to do. So that's just the reality we live in, and it's something we got to work on and figure out how do we kind of disrupt that system. But it's all operating how it's supposed to. So you just have to respect it and then figure out how do you navigate inside of it until something else comes along.
Now, being in a situation like that, because some of that stuff was on the news.
Yeah.
What did you learn, like, as far as how to deal with situations like that in the public eye?
Yeah. Well, I just kind of let it, like I was saying, it's like a movie. Like I was just sitting back, kind of just watching it. I wanted to be more involved. I would have liked to, do some more interviews and stuff like that, but I was instructed to like not do different things. So I kind of was just sitting back watching it all play out, and I just learned that, especially with media, and I think Malcolm X talked about. I mean, all kind of people talk about it before, but with media, um, people can narrate whatever story they want to, and so it's just real important on how, what image you want to have. Like, you got to figure out how do you overpower the media, because um, they took that whole story was crazy, like how they had turned into something. Even the first situation when I got arrested, the very first night, I was locked up. I wouldn't do no fingerprints or let them take no picture of me, and so they like held me for like a super long time. I mean, it's an all crazy situation, but the point of it is they had released on the news, I think a couple hours after I was locked up, that I had gotten into a drunk driving crash or something like that. I got in a crash in a ditch, and of course my truck is in perfect condition in a tow yard. I think I ain't gonna talk about that part on the camera, but one of my cousins went and figured some stuff out. But it was just like they made this story up about like some kind of crash.
It's crazy how often that happens.
Yeah, and all I did was pull on the side of the road, but it was a crash because of the situation was so out of hand. Like everything that happened, it's almost like they had to, you got to cover yourself. So it was just interesting to sit back and watch. Like, it was really like a movie. Like, wow, this is interesting, like suspenseful almost.
Now you just this is a picture of you with Minister Farrakhan.
Yeah.
What was that experience like meeting up with him?
Yeah, it was great. This a good man. I be watching the YouTube videos and stuff like that. But we got a great student minister in Detroit, Minister Troy. And every time Minister Farrakhan would come to town, he would let me come out and come and holler at him and different things. So I built a good rapport with him, and he really blessed me with some good words to me about my parents, different stuff like that. It was just great. Just anytime you get to see a person that you've been watching, or somebody that you just been seeing afar off, but now like they right in front of you, the interaction is always peaceful. So it was nice, and just getting a chance to learn more about their organization and kind of learn some of the connections between the Nation of Islam and then the Spirituals of Church in His Army, where I attend, from back in the day, and like our history and just Black history from back in the day in the spiritual or the faith community. Just always figuring out those similarities and those, where those ties are. It's just been interesting. He's been a strong leader, so it was a blessing for sure.
Now, you said the Nation of Islam, and then you said, what was that, the spiritual?
Spiritual Israel Church and Its Army. That's the organization I belong to.
Are those two, they're two different organizations?
Right.
Or do they teach the same practice?
No. I would say we align on some of the different things, but I believe the religion of the Nation of Islam is quite a bit different. But I think we have a lot of similarities. It's just the delivery is different. Some of the practices are different, and definitely some of the beliefs are different. But back in the day, we've always had a working understanding of each other, and I think that was a beautiful thing, and that's something that we're looking to get back into, because at the end of the day, you got community, and you got to figure out, there really are no sides in community. And so we got to figure out how do we come together, because that's what's going to give us, greater impact, greater influence as a people. So
absolutely. You definitely got to find common ground within the community. What led you to the Israelite religion? Were you always Islam?
Well, spiritual Israel.
Spiritual
but I was
Israelite.
born into it. So, before I came out the womb, I was a spiritual Israelite, because that's what my family was. That's really just the only, if there's any church to belong to, I feel like that's the church to be at, because you look through the Bible, and that's just what God wanted His people to be called. Was, you got like the Hebrew Israelites, and different things like that, and so that's a whole long conversation too. But I've been a part of my entire life. I've examined and explored a lot of different religions, a lot of different practices, and I would never leave the Spiritual Church in His Army.
So explain, like, not to just compare one or two religions, but to clear it up for somebody who doesn't know the difference between a spiritual Israelite and somebody who's in the Nation of Islam. What are like some of y'all core beliefs that are different?
Well, I mean, like I was saying, a lot of stuff is the same. But I mean, when you get to a lot of religions, and so we're not a religion, like, so we're an ecclesiastical organization. As a spiritual Israelite, we're focused more so on spiritual teachings.
What? Not to cut you off. What is an ecclesiastical organization?
It's a way that you register with the state, basically like that. That is a faith-based organization, so it's like something that's actually registered. I mean, with government, which a lot of institutions are, but that's what I would call it more so than a religion. You know, it's a way of life. Is what I would say. So we don't have a religion; we have a way of life. You know, this is like a way you're supposed to live your life. And of course, similar to other beliefs and faiths, we believe in one God. You know, the thing I think is different is some of the mindsets, like how heaven and hell. Some people think these are places you go to, you know, but these are conditions. You know, it's a state of mind. You know, we're not waiting on Jesus to come back or some Messiah to come and save us. Like, you know, we are righteous sons and daughters of God ourselves. You know, and so we grow to be God ourselves, and we all make up the body of God. And so, you know, we have a responsibility to be the savior that we're looking for. But a lot of religions are waiting to go somewhere after they die. You know, we don't even look at for death. You know, God promised eternal life. You know, God made man to live, and so I'm gonna hold on to that. You know, I'm gonna live as long as I can. You know, and so I think some of those foundational beliefs are similar in terms of, like, you know, one God, Jesus is his son, you know, these different things. But when you get down to the
Treat your neighbor as you would yourself,
yeah,
those type of
you know,
things.
all that stuff is similar. But when you get to the interpretation of things like heaven and hell not being a place, you know, I've been all up in the sky. You know, the heavens is just mean higher. You know what I mean? It's nothing up there that I've seen. You know, I don't think the people that went to space seen nothing. You know, so it's like at some point in time you cannot play with imagination. You have to deal with reality. You know, and then you deal with spiritual things as well, where, you know, travel. I mean, it's a lot of different stuff, and I know you know about some of that stuff too.
No,
Yeah, I was
absolutely.
glancing through the book, just waking up. You
No,
know?
facts.
Yeah.
Fact. I think that's probably one of the most dangerous parts about religion is the Messiah idea
Right.
of somebody coming back to save you, because when you read the Bible and they talk about Revelations, a lot of the things that happen in Revelations have happened in other parts of history.
Yeah.
And it's like, how many times have we seen this happen, or how many times have people said these are the last days and
Right.
we're just going to wait for somebody to come back to save us? And I just think, like, what if our ancestors that was in slavery was waiting for somebody to come back? Like,
Right.
you know, that's one that always gets me. And another thing as well is like the heaven and hell aspect. Like, what are we expected to do in heaven that we can't do here? And that's one thing that I haven't heard.
Right.
I haven't heard an example of anything that's going on in heaven that doesn't happen on the earth realm. You talk about roads that are paved with gold and things of that, but a lot of the things that are spoken about of heaven are things that we can create here on earth.
Right.
It's just dependent upon the state of mind of the people, which, like you said, heaven and hell is a state of mind.
Yeah.
So
that's
yeah,
facts. That's facts for sure. Because I mean, it's just so much. You know, you can joke about it too. You know, they talk about wearing golden slippers. You know, and bouncing from cherubim to cherub. You know, all this different. You know, growing wings. It's just a lot of. It's just like, when do we get out of that?
exactly.
You know what I mean? And you know, you don't go natural in that way. You can take it spiritual. You know, and like how you saying, you know, heaven. We can have heaven right here on earth. You know, the book teaches us that heaven is at hand. The book teaches us that God dwells in the hearts and bodies of men and women.
Absolutely.
You know, that all of these different things are right here. And so why are we trying to put it somewhere else? You know, why are we trying to go somewhere else? You know, so it's confusing sometimes, but what I say is people got to believe in something, you know, until they know something else.
I think another part of it is it comes down to laziness. I think people just don't want to have to take responsibility for what they're doing. Exactly. It's a lot easier and soothing when you can blame somebody else for why something's happening. Exactly. Like, you know, the devil and God concept. Like, why is everything negative that you're doing somebody else causing it? You know what I'm saying? Or how come none of these positive things that are happening are from you? So it puts you in a state of that you have no control, and then you have to wait for somebody to come back. And it's like, you know, if you get caught up in that mind state of feeling like everything that I'm doing wrong is somebody tempting me, you'll never be able to gain control. You'll never be able to say, wow, I'm responsible for the good things and the bad things that are happening in my life. I have control to do that. And when you realize that you have that power, I feel like it can be scary for people because they realize like I'm the one that's fucking shit up, but I'm also the reason why good things are happening. I can't just wait for it to fall in my lap.
Correct. Yeah, that's it right there, man. They got to take responsibility, because if you don't, you forever going to be giving somebody else your power, so you spot on with that one for sure.
So as far as the spiritual Israelite, you guys have an army or a military?
Well, it's more so when we talk about an army, you think about like natural army. They got bases all over the world and different things, different roles. That's how we structured as well. We got property, churches, land all over the place. We got members all over the place, and so in those congregations or those parts of the vineyard, they've got pastors and different leaders and whatnot. So it's a hierarchy similar to the army, and so that's kind of how we base ourselves after. And yeah, we guys aren't we all soldiers, so it's structured similar to an army, but it's like spiritual army. Even though we all over the place, we can all be the same place at once too.
What are some of the practices as a spiritual Israelite are most important to you? Like, what have you taken from, your church that really resonates with you?
Yeah, the simple stuff like how you're saying earlier, like treat everybody good. Think about like the motto of the organization is always do good. And so that's something that you just keep in the back of your head. Like it's no reason for us to be out here doing anybody bold, talking crazy, all kind of ways. Like just always do good. Simple stuff. They used to say stuff like if you don't use it, you'll lose it. So a lot of those teachings, even from a young age, that I learned in the organization, is good. And then we have a theology school ourselves, a spiritual school of theology, for members who have been in the organization for a while. And I think even that, we're all spiritual, already. It's just there's different vehicles to learn how to better apply yourself, to different things, so you can have more control and you can regulate things better than just getting in the mix and stuff just happening, And so it's a lot of different things that I love about it, but especially the simple things, just love and serve one another. This is the way I live my life. This is the way I've always lived my life. This is why I think the team and I did well in politics and in other forms of community service, because as long as you're looking out for your brother and sister, things will be well with you and with them. So
Here is the hell? Here's a picture with you and Kamala Harris. Yeah. Now you were supporting her in the election. What was it like? You got to meet her. What was that like?
Well, I don't know if I support everybody. You know what I mean? But yeah, I went to go check out one of the rallies. It was cool. I definitely had some issues with some of their camp though. A lot of times these campaigns flying people from all over the place instead of really realizing the politics is just everybody think they got a great idea, but again, it's all about like what really works, and being realistic about different things, what really wins a campaign, what really gets you votes. So I had a few interesting points, for the team, but I think that it was cool. It was nice. It was something that it was a feel good moment, say, oh, we could have a sister in office, first time ever, woman. And so I think it was something that felt good, but then you had to, sometimes you sit down at the end of the day and be like, I wonder if this is really something they can pull off, And so it was interesting for me, but anything is possible. That's how I live my life. So, anybody that want to do something good, I'm all with you.
No, absolutely.
All the way. So,
what is there any specific policies that of hers that you supported or didn't support?
People on a campaign trail, you could say anything, because you're trying to win,
right?
But there's a few things that stood out. I think one of which, like, I was looking forward to the housing program she was looking to do to help, put a lot of different. She's about to open up revenue to help all these different people, purchase their first home and do different things like that. I think that was good because that would address a major need in the community. But again, people say anything on a campaign trail. Trump was talking about lowering the price of groceries, and then just the other day he was like, "Well, it's actually gonna be kind of hard, not that I'm in office,
right?
Because of course it's a process. So you say whatever you want to say, get the people to where you want them to be at. Hopefully they go ahead and cast that vote. Then you got to figure out, damn, I made all these promises. What am I gonna do?
Facts.
So
yeah, you can say just about anything before you get in the office, and it's gonna sound good.
Yeah,
and it's
without a doubt.
it takes time to put all of these things into effect and really make it happen. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna finish it up with a couple more questions. Well, I'll be looking on time. Okay. What are your thoughts on the leadership of the country right now? Do you feel like what's your perspective?
Well, we're the leaders of the country. I think everybody's a leader. So I don't. When we talk about questions like that, I think a lot of people maybe look towards like the president, different things like that. But we're on the God pod right now, so everybody is responsible, for being a governor of their space, or a president of their space. And so I really had no major concerns about. Like, of course, I was in politics, but I really had no major concern about politics. I think, things that people do in the world, it doesn't always have to touch you. It's about what are you doing, for yourself. Self-determination. That's a good principle. A lot of people should know about. It's like your responsibility to the social, political, economic factors of your life. I think the more that we look at that and we just continue to be the greatest, best, highest functioning version of ourselves, things will be fine. No matter who's the president, no matter who runs the country, a war could start. Like you can still be good. But it's more of a mindset to have. So I think the leadership is great, because we're in charge.
Right, absolutely.
So
Facts.
good.
What would you, if you could leave off to the youth or, just the people out there, some positive words or a quote or anything, what would you leave them with?
I'd probably say, like, perception is reality. So it's like what you see or what you think, like, is so real. You don't even got to say it. Sometimes even just the mere thought, like, manifestation is so real, and so it's so important. It's critical for us just to, keep our mind stayed on things that we really want to see, and just realize it's possible. The bigger the mountain, the better the view. Don't settle for anything that you don't really want. Just go ahead. You can see it. Like you can reach it. You can touch it. It can happen. And make your move before you're ready. That's something people always talk about, getting their ducks in a row for different things. Sometimes you just got to hop out there, go and get it, because it's yours. It's yours already. It's your father. All of this is your father's, from a spiritual standpoint, talking about God. And so you're an heir, to all of this. Any of this can be yours. And so when people get that kingdom mindset where they think about that, I think that's what the young people have to be focused on. Like, whatever you want to do, you can do it, but you got to have a plan. And a lot of times we're not exposed to even know what we really want, because some of us we so local. Some people haven't left their city before, their neighborhood, the state, so people are sometimes at a disadvantage to even know what's really possible. So just expose yourself to things and then go get whatever you want, whatever your heart desires.
Facts, man. Them is wise words, wise words. Man, this was a great episode, the first episode of the God Pod with my boy, Jewell Jones. Man, I really appreciate you being here. Let the people know where they can find you at.
I'm on Instagram still, Jewell Jones, Jewell Jones, M.I. On Instagram, on Facebook still, but I'm in the neighborhood near you, so maybe I'll find you. You never know. I ain't never too far away. So it's been a blessing, though, seeing my brother prosper right here, and we just gotta keep on building.
No, facts, absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So this is the second season of the second season of the podcast in total. First episode of the God Pod. Make sure y'all go check out Just Waking Up, the Spiritual God Book. For those who are just waking up, this is a God book to help you just get more in tune, understand your spiritual journey in totality. A lot of people, when they enter into this realm of learning this type of information, they aren't really aware, or, when I started this, I wish I had a guide to follow to help me understand some of these concepts and to bridge spirituality with science. So that's what this is here for. But I appreciate y'all for being here with us. We're going to see y'all in the next episode. 1.
Yeah, I really got this shit in the bag right now. Bad bitch in the front seat, car go fast right now. Smoke dope, but we low-key though. Had to give him the okey doke. Like I'm so straight, I'ma just pass right now. Nigga need that bread like Peter. Everything I do for a reason. If you break that code, it's treason. Every one of my dogs, I'm bleeding. Every one of my dogs, I need them. Locked down, free that pen, I breathing. I do this shit for a reason. I don't do this shit for no reason. What you wanna know, I won't lie to you.